All right, so good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to our sessions. And for this session, we're going to discuss about developing multi-layer perceptrons for time series forecasting. So to begin with, let me just review some of the things that we have talked about last time. And we discovered through our lecture that multi-layer perceptrons are a type of artificial neural network, and it has been found to have a wide variety of applications because of its ability to approximate complex nonlinear functions. No? This is um, the advantage of MLPs to common perceptron models. No? Perceptron models are only for um, linear functions. However, for MLPs, we discovered that we can approximate complex nonlinear functions. And MLPs nowadays, no, not only nowadays, but before, they are used for many applications. For example, image classification tasks, no? For example, recognizing objects, classifying handwritten digits, no, etc., etc. But there have been some improvements, no, in the studies and literature that MLPs have been used for tasks like text classifications, sentiment analysis, no, used in natural language processing applications. Also, MLPs are used for converting audio signals, no, into text or phonemes. And MLPs can also be applied in many systems, for instance, recommendation systems, no? For example, suggestion of or suggesting products, movies, or content based on the preferences of the users, no, as well as their behavior. But for this afternoon, we're going to talk about time series forecasting, since our last topics is all about time series forecasting, and we basically discuss about the traditional approaches on time series forecasting, no, where we learned about ARIMA models, no, and the likes, and we discuss a lot about time series forecasting before. But today we're going to discuss how deep learning can be applied to forecast time series data. And MLPs can be used to forecast time series data. Now, for example, what are the time series data that we're talking about? For instance, you want to forecast stock prices, or you want to predict weather conditions or electricity demand or prices of products. Now, we can use multi-layer perceptrons. So in this topic, we will try to um, understand and really examine how MLPs can be used for time series forecasting. So we'll try to develop some models, some simple multi-layer perceptron models. But in order to use MLPs for time series forecasting, we need to understand that one of the things that is basically important for developing MLPs for time series forecasting is uh, preparing our data first, now before we use it in our MLP models. So which means data preparation is very important, no? Of course, we need to choose our data set, or we collect our data set, and we do some pre-processing, no, of the time series data before we we use the MLP model. So usually what we do is to split the data. This is very common, no, into training and testing sets. And sometimes we use some techniques, no, like time-based splitting to ensure the temporal order of the data is maintained. But we do need some things to be able to understand um, the use of time series forecasting in deep learning models. No? And in this lesson that we're going to discuss, we're going to configure models. No? And our goal here is to just configure our model and prepare our data sets into MLPs. No? And we're not focusing on the optimization for the problem itself. No? And this is not our goal here. Our goal is just to prepare the data and then make it work for our MLP model. Now you can see here that um, there are two parts. Now we're going to divide our discussion into two parts here. One is for univariate MLP models, and the other one is for um, multivariate MLP models. So in order to understand the concept of the univariate and the multivariate, we understand that in univariate, we do have a sequence of observation, and the observation when we say univariate time series, no, it's only consisting of a single series of observation, of course with temporal ordering, and the MLP model that we will use should be able uh, to understand and to learn from the series of the past observations to be able to predict the next value in the sequence. So meaning, before we use LP, we need to prepare our data set. No, you need to prepare our univariate series, no, before we can use our model. It's because the MLP model will learn a function. No, inside that MLP model will create a function that maps a sequence of past observations, and we're going to use it as an input to our output observation. So as an example, you can see here is an example of a univariate sequence. No, we have a list here that has 9 values from 10, 20. The interval is in terms of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, up to 90. So what we will do here is to divide the sequence into multiple input patterns, and we will call them samples. No, so for instance, um, we will divide them into 3 time steps, and we will use it as our input, and our output should be of course only 1 time step, no, and that will be for our 1 step prediction. So this is our goal here. So to define, this is what we're going to do. So this is just an example of what we are trying to do. We have the sequence, no, as you can see here, we divided our sequence into 3 time steps. So meaning our input sequence should consist of 3 time steps. That's 10, 20, and 30. And our output is a 1 time step prediction. And we already know that if we have 10, 20, and 30, the next value should be 40. And if we have 20, 30, 40, our next value is should be equal to 50. And likewise, if we have inputs of 30, 40, and 50, we should have a value of 60 and so on until we get to the end of the sequence. Now, right here is an example of um, how we can prepare our data preparation. Okay, so meaning how we can prepare our univariate sequence. No, um, this can be applied to any sequence as long as it is univariate. No, so when you say univariate, we only have one feature. no? For example, energy forecasting, and you only have one feature for the demand of the energy, for example. So in terms of megawatts, perhaps, or your output should also be a megawatts, perhaps, no, in terms of the forecasted value. So in this function, we try to understand what this function does. No, this is a function that basically prepare our univariate time series data for any supervised machine learning task. No, particularly what we're trying to do is a multi-layer perceptron. So what we're going to do right now is to break down this function. No, so we try to understand what each code does. No, step by step. So of course we know that the first line of code here is the line number 2, which is to import array. So we're going to import array function from the NumPy library, and we will use it later, of course, for creating arrays. No, that's what it does. No, that function. And then the next is to define the function. And as you can see here, the name of the function is split sequence. And we have two arguments, no, that is present in this particular function that we have. No, so this split sequence has two arguments. The first one is the sequence. So here we will put here the univariate time series data, no, in a form of an array, and the n steps or n underscore steps. So this is an integer that we will try to specify, no? And this means that this is the number of time steps that we will use for each sample in the supervised learning task. Okay, so this is what it does, no? And as you can see here, below that is we try to split the sequence by initializing two empty lists, no, namely x and y. Okay, and these lists will be used to store the input sequence and their corresponding output values. Now, after that, we try to create a looping function here. Okay, so this function will loop, no, into the sequence, and this loop will try to find the end of the current pattern. As you can see here, there's a conditional statement trying to check if we are beyond or if we are already at the end of the pattern. And then afterwards we check, no, if we are in the end of the pattern already, no, we break out of the loop, no, and then we gather the input and output parts of the pattern, no? This part here, okay, so this part here uh, will allow us to gather the input and output parts of the pattern. And sequence x, of course, this is the subsequence of the length, no, in terms of n steps starting from index I. And sequence y, on the other hand, is the element immediately following that subsequence. And then later, we're going to append the values, no? We're going to append the input sequence and the output value for their respective lists. And then our return values is the array, no, in terms of x and in terms of our y, no. So this means that the function converts the list x and y into numpy arrays, and then it will return them. Okay, so that's basically what we're trying to do there. Now here is an example of the series that we're trying to create. No, we just have 10 as the number of elements in this particular list, from 10 to 100 with an interval of 10. This is just a dummy values, so you can create your own if you want. And then what we do here after creating our series in a form of an array, we print the size of the series and then we split them into samples. So as you can see, if we try to split the sample, we're calling now the function that we created a while ago, which is the split sequence, and our arguments are the series, and the number of time steps is equal to 3. Okay, so this is arbitrary, no? Meaning it's up to you uh, how many uh, how many number of steps you would like to divide this series. But in this particular example, we just basically want to divide it by 3. And then later on, we would like to print the shape of the x and as well as the shape of the y, the input and the output. Now, to summarize the data, we just want to take a look at the data that we have. No, we create another loop here and we are printing the elements of all the x and y's no, for all the range in the length of our inputs. So the output, as you can see here, no, yung ating univariate sequence is now translated into this format. So we have a time step of 3, which is 10, 20, and 30, and we have a one time step prediction, which is equal to 40. So how many samples now that we have for this particular example? As you can see here, the shape of our x is 7 by 3. Now, meaning we have seven rows and 3 columns. And then the shape of our y is 7 rows with 1 column. All right? Now, um, for the MLP model that we will be creating, we just have to go through some simple or baseline model for creating our MLP. And this MLP has a single hidden layer of node and one output layer, no, that we are going to use for our prediction. Take note that the most important part here that you need to understand is first the number of steps that we need to declare. And that number of steps kasi will be used as the size of our input. No, that is our input dimension. Okay? So basically, that's a very simple MLP model that we have created here. So the number of neurons is equal to 100 for this one hidden layer. And our activation function is ReLU. And then our output layer is equal to 1 because we only want to have one step prediction here. Okay? So if we try to do that, no, this is now our summary. So this is our model right now. So we only have this few parameter over here. This we only have 501 trainable parameters. Okay, and after that we create or we train our model. We're feeding the model with our x and y values, and we run it 2000 epoch. No, as you can see from here. And then later, we're going to demonstrate the prediction by inputting an array value of 70, 80, and 90. So most probably, you already know what will be the output of this, no? So the output of this should be equal to 100, perhaps. No? That will be our y hat. Okay? So this is our prediction. So we can also provide another value here if you want, no? So to tie all of the things together that we have discussed a while ago, we'll try to demonstrate now how to develop an MLP for univariate time series forecasting and make a single prediction. So as you can see here, we included all of the importations from all the libraries that we needed. And then this is the function that splits our univariate sequence into samples, no, in particularly in our sample will be equal to the number of steps, which is equal to 3 right there. Okay, and then our sequence, so here what we did is to just provide a set of some random numbers here. So we can maybe delete this, no? And then maybe we can just put the 10, 20, 30, and then 40, and then 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. Right? So the number of steps will be equal to 3, and then we're going to split this using our function here. So this will be our input data, which is the sequence right here, and the number of steps is equal to 3. And our model is just basically our baseline model. We're going to um, iterate for 2,000 times, and then we try to predict, no? So let's try just um, to predict some values here: 1,280, 2,560, and 500, 5,120. Our original data here is something like this, no? I just copied and pasted here. So later we're going to replace the values, no? And also here, we're going to cut this and put it here. Okay? Oh, sorry. Right? And then maybe we can make a prediction, for example, 70, 80, and 90. So what we are expecting for our prediction is that we will receive 100, right? So we try now to run this. And as you can see, it's not gonna take time because we only have a few data. Have a small array of one-dimensional array that we tried to prepare it, no? And as you can see, our prediction is almost 100, no? So meaning this model that we have here, although it's a very basic model, or we just have one hidden layer here that we provided for our MLP model, but definitely the accuracy of the model is nice, right? Because we predicted that if we have an array of 70, 80, and 90, we should have a value of 100. So what if we try now to feed our model with this, no? With this value, for example, we try to replace this here. So this is our sequence. This is just univariate. And then what if our input array here, after doing the model and training it, what if our input model that we will be using for our prediction is 1,280, 2,560, and 5,120? So what will be the next value? So you will notice here that we are doubling, no? We are doubling the value. This is 128 or 1,280. This now is 2,560, and now we doubled it by 5,120. What is expected here is that our value should be equal to the double of 5,120, which is equal to around 10,240. Right? So let's try to run it and let's see if the model works. So as you can see, now we almost have 10,240, because if you try to round it off, it's almost 10,240. Definitely the model is working. We're not saying it in percent, 100% accurate, no, but basically what we are having right now is that the model is performing well, no? We were able to predict a one-time step prediction based from the input that we have, no? And based from the preparation that we have here, no, using our defined split sequence pattern or the function. Okay? So as you can see here, if you're gonna run this in your notebook, in your Google Colab, for example, no, you may have different result, no. So you may have to run the example a few times, so we can see that the model really predicts the next value in the sequence. So you can also experiment um, different numbers, no, or different patterns. No, what if the numbers that we are giving are actually um, because here we know that the pattern here is every time that the number is given, the next sequence or the next value is being doubled, no. So of course, if we have this, so everything is being doubled here, we are expecting that at the end of the sequence, what if we try this now as our input value? Okay, so we're expecting that the next value will be equal to 20,480. So if this is correct, then our model is really working. So our expected value is 20,480. Let's see. Yeah, it's almost, yeah, of course we missed some numbers, as you can see, while the numbers are growing up or going up. Okay? So you can see that the prediction now is not that accurate, no? So we're expecting around 480, 20,480, but we only got 20,478.217. So there's an error on this particular example here. So you can see, but definitely we can predict, using this example. Okay. So what about if we have multi variate MLP models? No. So what if we have multivariate MLP models? No. In multivariate time series, no, um, it's different from the univariate. No, univariate time series, you only have one time dependent variable. No, for example, stock prices, temperature over time, uh, electricity demand, etc., etc. No, but if you have multivariate MLP, um, you have multiple time dependent variables. No, for example, when you try to forecast stock prices, you're not only choosing one feature, which is the stock prices. No, you also considering, for instance, what about the trading volume? No, what about the external factors like weather, for instance? No, so something like that. No, so that is what makes multivariate. No, this means that the data has more than one observation for each time step. But here you can see that in multivariate MLP models, we have two main models that we will be using. No, the first one is the multiple input series, and the other one is multiple parallel series. All right. So let's start to discuss first the multiple input series. No, in multivariate MLP for time series forecasting, as mentioned, likewise to the univariate, the input to the MLP uh, here in multivariate is a multiple time series variable. Okay, and our model output should be able to predict the future values of one or more of these time series variables. Okay, so the first thing that we will try to understand is the multiple input series, and the other one is later we're going to discuss about multiple parallel series. Okay, so a problem may have two or more parallel input time series, no, and an output time series which is dependent on the input time series. The input time series are parallel because each series has an observation at the same time step. No, for example, sensor 1 has a value of 30, and sensor 2 has a value of 40, and sensor 3 has a value of 50. But they are getting those values at the same time. So those are what we call parallel input time series, no? They have dependent or yeah, they have dependent values for every input time series. And we can demonstrate this with a simple example of two parallel input time series. No? Imagine this is sensor 1, and these are the values that we have. As you can see here, we have 9 values, and this is sensor 2, and these are now our values for sensor number 2. So remember that 10 and 15 are parallel, okay? They are parallel because in a time series, maybe they are taken at the same time or they have been recorded at the same time. Now, from here, our input series, we also have what we call an output sequence. Okay, so if we have input sequence 1, input sequence 2, what will be our output sequence? So you can see here from this example, no, what we have here is that we have input sequence for um, for we have input sequence 1 and input sequence 2. Definitely, that's our, as I mentioned a while ago, that's our sensor 1, and at the same time, the other one is sensor 2. Our output sequence will be uh, a summation. No, this is what we call a summation of what we have here. No, this is going to be a summation of um, the value. No, the value that we have. So this means when we try to calculate the output sequence, we're performing a what we call an element-wise addition of the sensor 1 and sensor 2 values. Okay? And the result is an output sequence. Of course, no, we're trying to add, for instance, we're adding 10 and 15, adding 20 and 25, 30 and 35, and so on. Okay? And then we're using the loop so that we can add all of them. No? So definitely, what we have here is we're having an element-wise addition of input sequence 1 and input sequence 2, and that the result is an output sequence that represent the sum of the corresponding values in the input sequence 1 and input sequence 2. Okay? Now, next thing that we will do is to reshape these three arrays of data as a single data set. And as you can see here, we obtain the data set here by performing a horizontal stack column. So what we did here, no, our input sequence now should be in a form of this. So we did some reshaping. So the length of the sequence, as you can see here, will be our rows. And then we only have one column here, of course, for input sequence 1. And then for input sequence 2, we'll also have the length of the sequence, and that is only one column. And our output sequence here will be the output of our sequence, the length, no, of our output sequence. Definitely, we're just adding the input sequence 1 and input sequence 2. So they will have the same length. And that is going to be one column as well. Now, stacking them horizontally, we'll get, we call the function hstack here to get the values of input sequence 1, input sequence 2, and output sequence. Okay? So the complete example is given here, as you can see, and then we're printing the data set that we have obtained from here. So this is now the data set that we have. So you will notice that this first column over here, 10, 20, 30 up to 90 is our input sequence. The input sequence 2 is from 15, 25, 35 up to 95. And the element-wise addition of 10 and 15 is 25. 20 and 25 is 45, and so on, no? Until 185 here, which is the result of adding 90 and 95. So this is now our data set, no? This is our data set right now. Okay? Now, parang ganito yan, no? Similar to the univariate time series, we have to structure these data samples with input and output samples. Now we only have the data set, right? But we need to split the data into samples. But we need to maintain the order of observation across the two input sequence. No? If we choose 3 input time steps, then our first example or would look like this. No? For example, here, 10 and 15, 20 and 25, 30 and 35. So our output here, now for this particular example, is equal to 65 because 30 and 35 is equal to 65. Now here is the multivariate data preparation. So similar to the first thing that we have, we imported array and then we imported the HTAC because we're going to use it to have our data set. And this is just the same function. But the only difference here is when we gather the input and output parts of the pattern. As you can see here, we have differences in terms of the sequence, no? In terms of the end of the sequences. So ito lang yung makikita yung difference from the other, but basically they are just the same. And this will be used to prepare our multivariate sequence into sample. And right here, we define the input sequence as the following. So this is our first input sequence. This is our second input sequence. And this is the output. Okay. Now, we reshape, we convert them into rows and columns structure. And then we created our data set by horizontally stacking our columns. And right here, what we did here is to choose the number of time steps because we're going to call now the function split sequences and our argument will be the following. No? The number of steps is equal to 3 and our data set is this one, no? The one that we have horizontally stacked. And then similar to what we have done, we print the shape by looping it. No? So this is now our data, no? When we convert our data into split sequences. As you can see here, we have 10, 20, and 30, 15, 25, and 35. Our output value should be equal to 65. If we have 20, 30, and 40, 25, 35, and 45, our resulting output will be equal to 85, and so on. All right? So that will be the difference, no? The difference from our first example, which is univariate. But this time we do have parallel input, no? But we split them also into 3. Okay? So the shape is now equal to 7 by 3 by 2, meaning we have 7 rows. So that means we have 7 samples with 3 rows each, no? 3 rows each. For each sample, we have 3 rows. So basically, the one that I am highlighting is the first sample. Okay, we have 3 samples or 3 rows per sample, and then we have 2 columns. Now for the X shape, no? But for the output shape, which is equal to Y, now we only have 1, but we definitely have 7 values. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 because we have 7 samples. Okay. Now let's now try to create our simple. We're tying up now the preparation that we did, and let's try to apply it in our MLP. Tying them all together, we have this. As you can see, so the only thing that we have added here is this one, because we will be horizontally stacking our our data set. So, and then this one is also the difference, no? When we try to gather the input and output parts of the pattern. And then that's it, no? There's no difference at all. The number, the input dimension is this one. So definitely, we're not using the input dimension as the number of steps. We only use the number of steps in converting our data set into split sequences, no, by calling the function split sequences. But as you can see here now, the input dimension will be equal to the shape, no, the first index or the second index of X shape, because we have definitely have ano no, we have three shapes for X, no. Our shape is 7 by 3 by 2, as you remember here. This one. This is the shape of X, 7 by 3 by 2. And this is index 0, which is equal to 7. This is our index 1, which is equal to 3. And index 2 is equal to 2. So feeding that here, that will be our input dimension, which is equal to 3 by 2. So definitely this is different, right? So in univariate, we take the number of steps as our input dimension, but definitely not here, no? Here we get the shape, the number of input will be equal to X shape first index and X shape second index. Now, we'll also try to reshape our X by getting the first one, the first index, which is index 0, and this is equal to 7, right? And the number of input is equal to what? To the number of input is this shape, no? Which is 3 by 2. So definitely our reshaping will be equal to 7 by 3 by 2. And the number of output for Y shape is equal to 7, of course. Or equal to 1. Not 7, no? Because this is index 1. Because the first index is equal to 7, which is the number of rows. Okay? Now, this is the same as we have done. And as you can see here, if we try to run this, so having this input array, so we have the X input here. We are now getting the predictions as the following. So this means that having this input sequence of array and array 1, sequence 1, and then sequence 2, we will definitely have an output. All right? So to demonstrate the prediction, what we did here is we created 3 steps or 3 samples. So 70, 75, and 145, 80, 85, 165, 90, 95, and 185. So our prediction is that if we have that, it will be predicted that our next prediction will be equal to this. So our output is equal to, as you can see, our output is definitely in the shape of this, no? So our output will be equal to 1, but definitely uh, the number of columns, no? The number of column will be equal to the number of input, which is equal to 3. So this means that our output will be equal to just 1, but it's going to be to have 3 values, no? Meaning 3 columns. That means we have at one time step of the output, we have 3 values for the columns. As you can see here, we are predicting that the next value or the input sequence is 102. The second input is equal to 106. And the third one is the sum of 102 and 106. Definitely, It's not that accurate, no, it's not that accurate. But we're not after the accuracy of the model, no, as I mentioned a while ago. So far, do you have any question? Any question po? Is the topic clear to everyone? Before we proceed with the multiple parallel input and multi-step output. Okay, so everything is okay. So we can proceed with the next one, which is the multiple parallel input and multi-step output. Now, so when you say multi-step output, multiple parallel means we do understand parallel, right? So we are receiving, um, a while ago, we are receiving around multiple series as our input. But now we are receiving multiple parallel as an input. And then we will be receiving multiple or multi-step output. Now, a problem with parallel time series may require the prediction of multiple time steps of each time series. Now, for example, in this particular example here, we have multiple parallel, no, time series, meaning we have, let's say, the first column is about uh, the reading from sensor 1, and then this one is also a reading from sensor 2 and another reading from sensor number 3. Okay, so what we can do here is we can use the last 3 time steps from each of the 3 time steps as input to the model, and we can predict the next time steps of each of the 3 time series as output, no? And the first sample in the training set would be the following. So this is the first, no, 10, 15, and 25. And you will notice this is typically almost dissimilar to what we have done in the first example, no? But this one is somehow different because in the output we do have multiple step, meaning we're not only after the next step after 30, 35, and 65, but we are also after what comes after the first output. Okay, so the split sequence function will try to implement this behavior here. As you notice, we now have 3 arguments here, no? Because before, we only have 2 arguments, right? We only have the sequences and the number of steps. But here in our third example here, no, having the topic on multiple parallel and multiple output, our arguments are the following. We do have the sequence or the sequences, and then we have the n number of steps for our input and the n number of steps for our output as well. Similarly, meron yun pa rin yung ating gagawin dyan, no, na pattern, no, in order to split our multivariate sequence into number of samples. But you will also notice that in gathering the input and output parts of the pattern, we do have some differences as well, no? So you can see here na ito lang naman yung mga differences niya, no? Okay? Ito lang yung mga differences niya. But definitely, if we try to implement that, since we do have a multivariate, multi-step data preparation, so typically, we do have similar thing that we will do. We need some input sequence 1, input sequence 2, output sequence, and then we convert them again into rows and column structure. We created the data set by horizontally stacking the columns. But here, you will notice here that when choosing the number of time steps, we do need to consider the number of steps in and the number of steps out, because we're going to use that as our argument here in calling the function split sequences. So if we have this value over here of 3 and 2, that means the number of steps in is equal to 3 and the number of steps out is equal to 2. Meaning our sequence, no, our multivariate sequence we're going to have 3 samples, no, as the number of steps in, and then we have 2 outputs, no, which is the number of steps out. Okay, so if we try to print the data set that we have, so definitely we do have our input here. This is our input, similar to what we have done a while ago. But in this case, we do have 2 values for our output. No, this is for the first one, and this is the second one. No, and we do have how many samples? We do have 5 samples. No, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3, and this is 4, and this is the last one. No? This is the last one. Okay? So the shape of our data set are the following. Our X shape is equal to 5 by 3 by 3, meaning we have 5 samples, and each sample has 3 what? Uh, Definitely we have 3 rows in each sample and 3 columns. And for our output, we do have 5 samples again, 2 as the number of um, rows, and 3 as the number of columns, as you notice here. Okay, so now another thing that we will do is to flatten our input value, no, because we need to identify our n as our input. No, this is going to be the input dimension, and the input dimension will be equal to the index 1 of our X shape, the index 2 of our X shape as well. No, we try to multiply them, and we can definitely flatten the input value for our input. Okay, now to reshape, as you can see here, we're using the index 0 of X shape and the n input. Okay, so meaning we will only have 2 dimensions here, no, because this one has already been flattened. Okay, for the output, it's typically the same then, no. So for n output, that will be equal to the product of index 1 and index 2 of the Y shape. And to reshape, we're using the index 0 and the number of output here values, no? Which is the flattened value for Y. And this is now the complete example of the pattern that we have. Okay? So definitely, ang differences lang nito, as I mentioned a while ago, this one has 3 arguments. The sequences, the number of steps in, and the number of steps out. And you will also notice here, no, aside from looking on the end of the pattern, we also looking out not only on the end of the pattern, but as well as the what about this is for the input part, no? Input part. But for the output part, we need to also identify the end of the pattern. And then this one is when we try to gather the input and output parts of the pattern, we need to basically use the following values, no? So we can get the appropriate arrangement or data preparation. So this is just the sample, and then this one naman is for the input sequence 1 reshaping, no? Converting them into rows and column structure. This is now our data set when we horizontally stack it. And I mentioned a while ago that we are using n number of steps and n number of steps out for our function split sequence. For the input dimension, you notice that we're using the number of inputs as our input shape, no? So using that, training that, no, demonstrating here the prediction, as you notice, okay? So we're making a prediction here that if we have the following values as our input sequence, now what will be our output sequence? So how many values do we have here? So we have two, no? We have two, one, this is the first step, and this is the second step for the output. So that means if we have this and this for our input, no? So ito yung input natin. Then our next two steps, no? Multiple steps are the following. This is the first step, output, and this is the second step, output. Right? So that's the end of our topic actually, no, for this afternoon. It's a very short topic, and I want you to get uh, I'm not getting any. I don't want you to get confused by incorporating other topics aside from the data preparation. So what I'm trying to uh, to give to you this assignment, no, for this assignment or for this activity, I want you to create a univariate multi-layer perceptron model for this particular data set over here. This is a very simple data set. It's shampoo.csv. If you take a look at this data set, shampoo.csv is only a univariate. No? Univariate lang siya. No? And it's about the sales of the shampoo from, I think, from how many months? I think it's only 36 months. No? So meaning 3 years of shampoo sales. So you're going to create a model for this particular data set. And you're going to use 3 time steps for the input. And you're only required to have a one observation for the output. Definitely, you are going to use the last 3 sequence in demonstrating your prediction. So meaning, because in the data set, the last prediction is equal to 475.3, 581.3, and 646.9. So what will be the next observation, no, for the output, no, having been given that the last 3 sequence for the input, no, of the data set. So by the way, this is the data set I'm going to show you. If you try to check on the link, so this is the data set for that. So you can download the raw file and convert it into CSV. And this is very simple univariate activity, no, that you may want to practice, no, for this particular example. But for your assignment, may I just give you the assignment? Let me just put you the assignment for this particular module. So onti-onti lang, no, onti-onti lang. So hindi natin siya aagarin, no? So where is that? Where am I? I am now here, right? So we are now in here, right? Yeah, this one, no? Oh, it's not published. I want to publish all the modules so you may see all of the references. You also have the module 6 Google Colab, which is this one, no? The one that I used. And this one is your assignment, no? So creating univariate MLPs, checking on this. Ay, sorry. Nawala. This one. Okay, this is your assignment as a first assignment, no? So you have 2 assignments. One is for the univariate and the other one is for the multivariate. No? The other one is just for you to practice, no? Yung sa shampoo. Practicing nyo lang, implement nyo yung univariate. But dito, in your assignment, you will use one of the US-based stocks and ETF trading on New York Stock Exchange, no? NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange market. And you can find the data set here. So this is the data set. It's a text file. So you have to prepare your data, examine the data set, and here you will create a univariate MLP model using the data set, and you will use the last observation steps. So, depending on you, siguro kayo na mag-decide kung ilang steps ang gagamitin nyo because the data set may have a lot of medyo mahaba na yung data set natin. So you try to demonstrate prediction based on the MLP model you created. So kayo rin na mag-decide kung anong baseline model ang gagamitin nyo. For this particular univariate time series, ang gagamitin nyo nga pala kasi meron diyang open, close, no? Open, close at saka, tama, open and close lang, no? Meron diyang open and close. Ang gagamitin nyo lang is the open. Okay? Yun lang yung gagamitin nyo for the observation para maging univariate siya. So I'm gonna edit this one because this has a date. I think this was given last year, no? So I'm gonna open this today. Today is October 7. I'm gonna put no due date. No, I'm just saving it so you can access it. And then the next activity is this one, no? Creating multivariate MLPs. So based on the topic discussed, demonstrate implementation of the MLP multivariate time series forecasting. So here, in this example, you can choose any multivariate real-world time series dataset. So pwede nyo rin gamitin yung ginamit nyo sa first activity, yung 6.1 na ALL text. No? Pwede nyo gamitin yon kasi meron naman doong ibang columns, no? Merong open doon tsaka close. So bali multivariate na 'yon, no? Pag meron tayong dalawang columns, no, for the dataset, pwede na natin siyang sabihin na that is already a multivariate. Okay? So you have to submit your PDF to. So siguro ano na lang natin. Gamitin niyo na lang din dito, baguhin ko na lang tong activity. Demonstrate the implementation of MLP multivariate time series forecasting. You can choose the data set. The data set in HOA 6.1. Okay, so you don't need to provide a problem definition there. Submit your Google Colab link. Okay, no need for that. Just the Google Colab link. So I'm expecting a website URL submission here. And this is available from today. There's no due date yet. It's up to you when are you going to submit this. Now, getting back here for 6.1, okay? So you may submit also a Google Colab link as well, no? I'm gonna edit this one. Submit your Google Colab link. So make sure your Google Colab link is accessible. And that's it. Okay? So any question po before we end our discussion? Very short discussion talking about preparation of univariate and multivariate. I hope you understand the lesson today, no? Because it's important to understand how we can implement time series in deep learning, no? Especially MLP. And next time, we're going to prepare naman for CNN and LSTM and so on. No questions? No questions si Mr. Peralta, Mr. Iglesias, Mr. What about Mr. Sial? Do you have questions? And Mr. Oka? Oh, no questions. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So this afternoon, this is the end of our discussion. Make sure na yung mga deliverables natin, no, binigyan ko na kayo ng pahinga last time. So I was hoping that you were able to submit. I haven't checked it yet, pero I'm expecting that you are trying to perform all your backlogs. Okay, para hindi kayo matabunan kasi parami ng parami yan. Katulad ngayon, dalawa na naman ang sasubmit nyo today, no? In this session. I'm gonna put the recording now on hold.